Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Irene. I will be doing a tour of my new sewing space. We've just moved into our new home and finished setting up my sewing area, and we love where we live. We are living nearby Rome. It's quite small, it's like 40 square meters, and when we set up my sewing area and in general the house, we had to really be efficient with the space, especially because sewing takes a lot of place in general. I hope that if you also have a small space, you get some ideas from this and inspiration. Enjoy the tour and let's go. So let's first start with my pegboard area because it keeps a lot of my tools and most used things handy, and I've been using it ever since I started sewing, no matter where I move to. And let me move my sewing machine out of the way. Alright, so as you remember, I've always used these hooks to put my most used tools in reach, so my embroidery scissors and my fabric scissors and the loop turners as well. Usually I use this area to put my sewing patterns or instructions, even though at the moment I've placed a book there because I'm not sewing yet. And my sewing pattern is over here with some of the yarns that I'll be using for my next project. This little yarn holder is so practical and useful, so I just keep the small one here to be able to put again my threads that I'll be using for my current project. This is a basting thread, and up here this one holds all of my blades for my roller cutter, my thimble, and all the needles, hand sewing or machine needles. And I have so many because I like to change them very often at each project. In this one I keep my little measuring tape, which is a cat. You must remember the bear one if you've been following me for a while, but now that one broke, so I have the cat. And these are all my machine feet that I keep here so that I can easily reach them when I need to. In this one I keep some little tools such as these markers and unpicker, crochet hooks and pencils, etc. And on the desk I have my jar in which I will be putting some used needles that I'll be throwing away later. Why? Because when you throw them directly in the trash bin, they might hurt people and animals, so I always like to throw them in a glass jar. And in this area I also keep my machine needles in this little pin cushion that is kind of red and gingham, really cute, and I have my little strawberry mug here that I love as well. Alright, so this is the compartment area of my desk. By the way, my desk is from IKEA, as well as these boxes, and everything else that I've mentioned in this video will be linked down in the description box. Now I want to show you how I organize this desk from top to bottom. Let's start with this area. So this is a brass antique dish that I antiqued in France when I lived there, and it's really practical. Currently it's holding my longest, biggest pins, and it's really practical because I empty it while I'm sewing and I'm taking off the pins as I go and I throw it in the dish. And since it's so big, I don't really miss and throw pins everywhere, even when I'm not looking. And after that, in the back I have compartmentalized my different sizes of pins. So this magnetic pin holder that you must remember is holding my medium-sized, regular-sized pins, and it's really practical because nothing falls. So that's my favorite type of pin holder. And in here I have this cute little Daman Frère tea box that I got for Christmas, and I thought it was so cute, and I used it to hold my smallest pins and these useless little clips that I bought for sewing years ago for really a lot of money, and they're completely useless. I use them to organize my sewing patterns sometimes, but I think they're overpriced and crappy. Alright, so the next shelf has these boxes. The first box holds some utensils and little its and bits here and there. For example, a simple pencil case that has nothing but regular pens in it, and some sewing pattern hooks that I hang in on that hanger that you've seen in the intro. and some organizers for buttons. These are so practical for sewists. This way it's not a mess and they don't get damaged if they're made of more delicate materials. Next, I have a pouch full of other kinds of buttons, such as cover-up buttons and buttons from clothes that I bought. I have also these antique buttons you might remember from my sew along, which I will link somewhere on the screen. And I also have some items that I use often but are too ugly to display on the pegboard. I know that's very counterproductive. For example, my roller cutter that is quite ugly but is more used than my actual shears, but I still keep them here because I suffer for beauty. Same thing applies to my pinking shears. They're just too ugly to put on my pegboard. But what are you gonna do? And I also have this textile glue that I use when I'm making buttonholes to strengthen them a little bit so they don't fray. And I also have these life-saving organizers for bottom bobbins because they are such a mess. Even in this, they are knotting up and loosening off and just really annoying. So I keep them here and that's like a lifesaver. And I wish I had bought this before because I had so many extra bobbins that I have completely lost and I don't know where they are. And I also have some chalk for marking purposes and a bit of scotch for sewing pattern alterations, and some bias tape makers, which are super handy, and lastly an embroidery scissor that is not as aesthetic as the other ones, and this doesn't match as well as them, but it's actually the newest one and the best quality one that I have. So what are you gonna do? And that's all that there was in this box, which is looking small from the outside but actually has lots of capacity. Next, we have this second box in here, and this one holds my yarn and my knitting or crocheting supplies. I have a, first of all, a creepy doll head that is not finished. Yeah. And another organizer that holds some hooks, snaps, amigurumi eyes, stitch counters and stitch markers for knitting and crocheting, and simply some hooks and some yarns, just that. Alright, so now the last shelf. So in the last shelf I have this other box which holds three things: a bag full of zips and bias tapes, and the pedals of my sewing machine and the pedal of my overlocker. That's all. These are such a mess every time, and so I wanted to dedicate a whole box to keep them organized because I do not like seeing ugly cables all over my working area. So once I'm done with them, I immediately wrap them up and put this in this box. At the bottom, I have a bit of amigurumi filling thing, and also some knitting, what are they called? I want to say knitting hooks, but I don't remember what they're called. Some knitting sticks and an embroidery hook as well. And that's all in this area. So now let's go and see how I organize my sewing patterns and my fabrics. Follow me. Alright, so this is where I keep my overlocker first of all. It's in here, and this huge calyx is the biggest storage in our home. It's just a lifesaver. So this is the entrance of our home, which is why it's kind of dark, but this is sort of where we put everything. And in this straw bag, I keep all of my threads in all the colors, and at the beginning of every project I will come here and pick the colors that I need, take them to my working area and put it in the small thread holding bobbin holder that I have on my desk. So that's how it works. So over here is where I keep my sewing patterns. They are all here. Most of them, no, actually all of them are vintage, and I have also some sewing pattern paper here, so I have quite a lot. And these are only the ones that are for the summer. The winter ones are stored somewhere completely somewhere else. And here is where I keep all my fabrics, and this is quite full. I have a lot of fabrics, but this is nothing compared to before. I left some of my winter fabrics in France, which will be shipped to me when autumn arrives. So this is the entire tour of my little cozy sewing area. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to give it a like, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And now I have to go sew the next project, which is also going to be a sew along video on this channel at the end of the month, and when it's out I'll be linking it somewhere up here on the screen, so be sure to not miss that either. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye!